Welcome to my personal audit from 2023. It is now a personal performance review time, and with that, typically I track my time. When I track my time, I have managed to do 1,511 points. A point is an estimated hour assigned per task, and last year, in 2022, I did 2,434.5 hours of labor, which is quite a bit and a bit too much. And in the previous year, in 2021, it was ridiculous. So, how was my completion rate versus estimated points? In general, I did 77.87 completion of what I wanted to do, and I wanted to do 1,773 points of what my estimation was to do my goals this year. So this is how much I would have liked to do in points per hour. This means there was an excess of 262 points that I didn't quite hit, which could be 2 medium-sized projects, 1 semi-large project, or half of a very big project. But on the light side, this is how many tasks I did compared to what I would have liked to do compared to the year of 61.05% in 2022. This means I did more than I had expected versus the previous year overall, which means this is a huge win. So with that, you notice that I did work a lot less in hours, which means my efficiency was 7.35% less than normal. So of my ambitions, I was slightly less efficient with task completion in 2022, but that's okay. I overall was much happier. My predictions were much more relaxed and automated, where ClickUp was assigning 1 point per task as a default. Previously, I used to do this to 15 minutes per task at that kind of granular efficiency. So it was less predictable, which made me look less efficient, but in reality, I did 85.22% as I expected, which is much higher than 64.97% from what I was expecting in my previous year. I was much more realistic, much more granular, and a lot more focused. So concerning my finances, I would love to talk about this in person, but you may need to read up on this on my Patreon or Ko-Fi to learn about my gross earnings and my reason why I increased 48% compared to my previous year, which is nearly 50% more, but I have 0% in profits for a number of reasons. So check it out on the Patreon and Ko-Fi to personally get to know why. And from there, how were my daily hours on average? Well, 8.05 hours was my daily average, which shows I lived a healthy trend from the previous year. In comparison, I had also a lot more free days, including 16 days in the Netherlands, where I had the opportunity to present at the Blender Conference of 2023. So I worked less, but at a similar rhythm than the previous year, which is a great, healthy trend. So how did I do with my task tracking? Well, I had 1,308 total tasks, which means these total tasks are created and logged and completed. Last year I had 1,011 tasks, so in general I was much more granular this year, which means it helped me to focus and it proves that my methodology is keeping me on track. So how were my dailies compared to 2022? Well, pretty much the same with 97.75% of hours per day, slightly less, but I've been working about the same. And concerning total year's hours, I've done only 79.73% from the previous year, which overall is considerably much more manageable and healthy with the frequent periods of rest. This means I did more with less than the previous year and the year beyond that, because in 2022, I had already decreased my time by 66.35% from 2021. So the earlier period of work was absolutely crazy for me, especially right after the quarantine. I hired a lot of people and I had a crazy burnout pace. So now, with these metrics, I know I'm no longer at a burnout pace, and overall, I could emotionally rest this entire year, ready for 2024. So let's summarize and reflect on 2023. I've done potentially 11 completed projects. I compared to last year with about 14 completed projects. This year's pace I consider as a much better experience concerning quality of life and production levels. The largest project I did was about 413 hours, which was the B for Artist project. The smallest project was 9.4 hours. I increased my YouTube subs by substantially by 227. Thank you for following. And the longest week that I worked was at the beginning in January, where I was suffering a lot of crunch just before traveling. And I did 73.5 hours that week. My average week, though, was a nice, comfortable 39.47 hours. So this year was about reaping what I sowed and reaching out with new business models. I got new hardware, a new computer. I traveled to represent my passions in the Netherlands, and I pivoted my business model to be less about clients and freelancing, where I bid my last freelancing client in July, and moved more onto commissions and patronage from BA for Artists, which has now become quite substantial. Thank you. I even was sought after with multiple high-profile interviews from multiple studios this year. I was not looking for it, but I found a few, and it was really nice. I consider this year one of my favorites thus far. A step closer to the dream. It was a very rich year, and thank you for being a part of it.